We had the 20th anniversary of 9/11 over the weekend, and there is so much that can be said, and yet how much is there that is new that can be said about 9/11 that we've not said on prior anniversaries? For me, one of the most important things was the stark contrast over the 20 years between the 2021 Republican Party and the 2001 Republican Party, and how out of place then President George W. Bush looks within the modern Republican Party. Now, whoa. Am I rewriting history and rehabilitating the image of George W. Bush? No, that's not what I'm doing. Am I saying George W. Bush's foreign policy decisions back in 2001 and 2 and 3 made any sense? No, I'm not doing that. But what I am pointing out is, as much of a disaster as was George W. Bush on foreign policy and in so many other ways, the Republican Party today, under the MAGA brand, has become something orders of magnitude more insane. And so what I'm going to play for you here is a little bit of a speech that George W. Bush gave on Saturday, on the anniversary of 9/11, in which he did something that I think is really accurate, actually. He likened the Trump rioters of January 6th to the 9/11 terrorists of 9/11-2001, and pointed out it's not just from abroad that these threats can come, but even from inside as well. Now, I want to again say, in this speech, George W. Bush says a ton of nonsense. I don't like Bush. I don't think he was a good president. I didn't vote for Bush. All these different things. Even in this speech, Bush still acts like his military actions in Afghanistan and Iraq made sense. I don't agree with that. But he correctly draws a line between the Trump rioters and the 9/11 terrorists and saying it's all people who wish harm or want to do harm to the United States. Let's take a listen to George W. Bush on Saturday.
As a nation, our adjustments have been profound. Many Americans struggle to understand why an enemy would hate us with such zeal. The security measures incorporated into our lives are both sources of comfort and reminders of our vulnerability.
But they're not. So this is an example. The security measures are also something that many of us are concerned are sacrificing privacy without really providing security. Like, that's a huge part of security measures. So there's still a ton of neocon propaganda here, but he eventually gets to something very important.
And we have seen growing evidence that the dangers to our country can come not only across borders,
right,
but from violence that gathers within.
Right.
There is little cultural overlap between violent extremists abroad and violent extremists at home. But in their disdain for pluralism, in their disregard for human life, in their determination to defile national symbols, they are children of the same foul spirit, and it is our continuing duty to confront them.
He is absolutely right. I saw a great comment on Reddit which said, in an attempt to be the most conservative member of their party, they're becoming so reactionary that they're starting to reject basic aspects of human civilization, like empathy for others that can't directly help you. And that is exactly the type of thing that George W. Bush is pointing to. Now, again, because I know, the Glenn Greenwald types are very quick to say, look at all these soft leftists lionizing Bush and forgetting. No. Even in this speech, Bush acts like his military actions in Iraq and Afghanistan made sense. After Trump, though, Bush comparatively sounds relatively empathetic, comparatively wise. And we have to still remember all the bad. We're not rehabbing George W. Bush. But it is a stark contrast here between what the Republican Party was in 2001, which was already horrible. It was horrible in 2001, to what it is today. I get the sense that Bush as a person feels much more comfortable and safe around the Obamas than the Trumpists. And this is also a reminder that the Obama Democratic Party is not the super left socialist thing that the right believes it to be. That's an important reminder here as well. Now, the problem is when you try to talk about this stuff, everybody wants black and white. David, do you think Bush is great or do you think he's terrible? Well, he was horrible on policy. For the times of 2001, 2, 3, he was a disgusting reactionary, a terrible neocon, and he has accurately identified the lunatic stray of the Republican Party to Trumpism and has accurately found an analogy between the Trump rioters and the 9/11 terrorists. That's it. You know, people want, oh, if Bush gets along with Obama, that means Obama is actually a right winger. No, Obama is a center left Democrat. Bush is a Republican. But compared to MAGA cultists who at every opportunity do what is absolutely worst for the country, they are closer to each other in that way while still being significantly different politically. And part of the problem is it's not just the people on the right who want to say, oh, Obama's a socialist Marxist, Biden's a socialist Marxist. There's also people on the left who want to say, if there's any agreement between a Republican and a Democrat, it must mean the Democrat is actually a right winger. Let's try not to fall for these tired tropes that are completely counterproductive in actually discussing substantively the issues facing the country. Bush was a disaster, and good for Bush triggering the MAGA people by saying the January 6th people are more similar to the 9/11 terrorists than you might think. Now, one other thought. On Twitter and Reddit, I saw these right-wing nuts saying when Bush referred to the domestic people, he was talking about Antifa and Black Lives Matter. No, he wasn't. He obviously wasn't. There's no way in hell that that's what George W. Bush was talking about. Let's take a quick break. We'll have more on this and the rest of today's stories on our Instagram, which you can find at David Pakman Show. One of our sponsors is Sheath Underwear. It's summer right now in the Northern Hemisphere. It's hot. It's humid. Many of the men in my audience know about the discomfort that can come with this, with traditional underwear, the sweating, the chafing, the sticking. Not fun. And that's what Sheath Underwear has solved. Sheath has designed men's boxer briefs with multiple ergonomic compartments built into the front of the underwear, which keeps everything separate, dry, cool, and comfortable all day long. Sheath has re-released 2 limited edition styles, Flower of Life, with a stylish flower pattern and bold geometric waistband. The other limited edition style is the Mesh Airflow, especially designed to be lightweight and promote extra coolness and breathability. Give Sheath Underwear a try. I've had a great experience with it. I think you will too. You can find the link underneath this video, and don't forget to use promo code PAKMAN for 20% off.